This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf has emphasized in Minsk President Tebboun's commitment to working together with President Lukashenko to elevate relations between Algeria and Belarus to broader perspectives and higher levels. The Secretary General of the Arab League, Nabil Fahmy, has warned against the Israeli occupation's repeated use of force to expand its control over the Palestinian land and alter the reality on the ground. And several Spanish and Portuguese political parties have called for Morocco to be excluded from co-hosting the 2030 FIFA World Cup following the recent migration crisis in the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First, in our news, Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf was received yesterday in the Belarusian capital, Minsk, by the President of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, as part of his official visit to Belarus. A statement from the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that during this meeting, the two sides discussed the remarkable momentum in relations between the two countries in light of the progress made in implementing the outcomes of the official visit to Algeria by the President of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, in December 2025. Let's listen to Mr. Attaf.
I had the honor of being received by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Belarus. Naturally, I conveyed to him the greetings and best wishes of President Abdelmajid Tebboune, along with his wishes for success in his mission and for continued prosperity and well-being for Belarus. Our discussions focused on assessing the outcomes of President Lukashenko's outstanding visit to Algeria and the results that emerged from that visit. If I were to summarize the outcomes of the visit, I would do so in three main points. First, the visit gave fresh momentum to matters by activating all the mechanisms that frame the existing cooperation between Algeria and Belarus. Second, the visit allowed to frame bilateral relations through new legal texts that paved the way for greater interaction and cooperation between Algeria and Belarus. Third, the visit established priorities for cooperation by identifying 43 areas of collaboration between Algeria and Belarus. Today, I can stand before you and say that we have already addressed the issues and achieved more than half of these agreed projects. The agreements reached between President Abdelmajid Tebboune and President Alexander Lukashenko are now underway, and the rate of progress is truly encouraging.
Mr. Attaf also welcomed the progress made in implementing bilateral commitments, emphasizing the President of the Republic's commitment to working together with his Belarusian counterpart to elevate relations between the two countries to broader perspectives and levels in the best interests of both countries and friendly peoples.
We reviewed the current state of bilateral cooperation and affirmed that it is experiencing positive progress, which should be maintained, strengthened, and expanded. We also stressed the importance of moving from the stage of consultation and exchanging views to the stage of implementation, follow-up, and evaluation in order to ensure the effective implementation of what was agreed on during the meeting between President Abdelmajid Tebboune and His Excellency President Alexander Lukashenko on the occasion of his visit to Algeria last December. This landmark and significant visit paved the way for a strong new momentum in strengthening cooperation and partnership between the two countries. In this context, we agreed on a work plan consisting of 43 initiatives.
In the same context, the Minister of State indicated that he exchanged with his Belarusian counterpart views on the main regional and international issues of common interest based on the shared conviction that the complexities of the current international situation require strengthening dialogue, intensifying consultations, and coordinating positions. The two sides also emphasized the importance of multilateral action, adherence to international law, the United Nations, and its charter.
We have exchanged views on the most important regional and international issues of common interest, based on common conviction that the complexity of the current situation in the world requires strengthening dialogue, intensifying dialogue, and coordinating positions in light of the disturbances prevailing in the system of international relations on regional and international levels. We emphasize the importance of multilateral action and the need to comply with international law, the United Nations, and its charter, and to make prevail peaceful solutions to disputes over other options in view of the high costs caused by these disputes and their devastating effects on humanity as a whole.
You were listening to Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Khalida Boufdash, has received the Speaker of the Pan-African Parliament, Fatah Boutbig, who paid her a courtesy visit to congratulate her on her election at the head of the lower House of Parliament, according to a statement from the lower chamber. During the meeting, Boutbig congratulated the new speaker on her election and wished her success in her new duties. He also praised Algeria's prominent role within African parliamentary bodies and its contribution to advancing joint African action. The Minister of Knowledge, Economy, Startup and Micro-Enterprises, Nordin Wada, has stressed the importance of involving Algerian experts living abroad in developing local artificial intelligence solutions alongside national startups. Speaking at a meeting bringing together innovative project holders, startups and Algerian AI expert and Columbia University computer science professor Ansaf Salib Awisi, the minister said Algeria should develop AI models that reflect the country's and Africa's cultural, historical and data specificities. He noted that combining the expertise of the diaspora with the capabilities of local startups would help strengthen technological sovereignty. For her part, Salib Awisi highlighted the growing role of AI in sectors such as healthcare and education and presented her non-profit educational platform, AI Fabit, which promotes AI literacy and now has nearly 20,000 users in more than 100 countries, including Algeria. She also urged startups to prioritize safety, ethics, transparency, and data protection when developing AI applications. Local authorities in Tiaret province have mobilized all available human and material resources to assist the victims of a road accident that occurred Thursday afternoon in the municipality of Shihaima, where a passenger car collided with a truck, leaving 6 people dead and 2 others injured. The Interior Ministry said in a statement that local authorities immediately responded to the accident, dispatching officials to the scene to oversee rescue and evacuation operations and instructing emergency services to provide all necessary means to ensure the best possible care for the injured. Internationally now, several Spanish and Portuguese political parties have called for Morocco to be excluded from co-hosting the 2030 FIFA World Cup following the recent migration crisis in the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Spain's Vox party announced on Thursday that it had formally requested Morocco's exclusion from the tournament, while Podemos and Sumar argued that Spain should not co-host the event with what they described as a dictatorship, using desperate people for its geopolitical interests. Fox said the arrival of around 72,000 irregular migrants from Morocco into Ceuta in just a few days raised doubts about Rabat's ability to ensure security for the 2030 World Cup and announced it had submitted a bill to Parliament seeking Morocco's exclusion as a co-host. Podemos and Sumar also opposed co-hosting the tournament with Morocco, citing human rights concerns and accusing Rabat of using migrants for geopolitical purposes. In Portugal, the Green Party Livre likewise urged the government and the Portuguese Football Federation to seek Morocco's exclusion, arguing it is not a reliable partner in light of the Ceuta migration crisis. Meanwhile, the Spanish authorities, in coordination with Ecuador's national police, have uncovered the involvement of Moroccan nationals in an international cocaine trafficking network that allegedly received financial backing from investors based in the United Arab Emirates. According to Spain's Civil Guard, the network smuggled more than 21 tons of cocaine into Europe by using import-export front companies to conceal shipments in maritime containers. Moroccan suspects allegedly played logistical and commercial roles that facilitated the movement of the drug shipments. Spanish and Ecuadorian authorities are continuing their investigation to identify all those involved and dismantle the transnational trafficking network. To the Middle East now, Arab League Secretary General Nabil Fahmy warned today against the Israeli occupation's repeated use of force to expand its control and alter the reality on the ground, including targeting civilians and infrastructure through military operations and ongoing violations in the Gaza Strip and the occupied West Bank, as well as through repeated attacks on Lebanon and Syria, violating their sovereignty and territorial integrity. In a statement, the Secretary General affirmed that the arrogance of the Israeli entity and its continued use of force will not bring its security or stability, but rather will exacerbate tensions, widen the scope of confrontation, and threaten the security of the entire region. Meanwhile, Zionist settlers attacked a Palestinian hamlet in the southern occupied West Bank, injuring residents and destroying homes and its only source of electricity. This comes as Zionist occupation forces conducted yesterday incursions into the town of Tubas and near Aqaba in the northern occupied West Bank. Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that several military patrols entered the town of Aqaba and Zionist soldiers were deployed there, hindering the movement of residents. In the same context, UNICEF said yesterday that at least 300 children have been martyred in Gaza since the announcement last October of the ceasefire agreement in the Palestinian enclave, where the Zionist entity continues its genocidal aggression. The UN Security Council has condemned the suicide bombing that targeted a police checkpoint in Kabul in Pakistan's northeast or northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province on Sunday, killing 16 people. In a statement issued on Thursday, Council members strongly condemned what they described as a heinous and cowardly terrorist attack and expressed their deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims, as well as to the government and people of Pakistan. The EU Commissioner for Environment, Jessica Roswell, has announced that the European Union will encourage its member states to increase investment in environmental management in order to reduce the risk of wildfires after the economic cost of the fires that struck several European countries this summer exceeded $15 billion. Roswell stressed that prevention is the first line of defense, adding that more investment should be done in favor of the nature. She emphasized that Brussels would monitor how member states use EU funding, particularly to ensure it is allocated to wildfire prevention. The European Commission will also examine how wildfire prevention is incorporated into national plans to implement the EU law on restoring degraded ecosystems. These plans must be submitted to the European Union by September. It's worth recalling that severe wildfires swept through France, Spain, and Greece, causing economic losses estimated at between $15.6 billion to $19.1 billion, according to estimates published on Thursday by weather forecast services AccuWeather. And finally, the African Union's health agency, the Africa CDC, announced on Thursday that it plans to expand the use of the Ebola vaccine developed for the Zaire strain in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, despite the current outbreak being caused by the Bundibugyo variant, after evidence suggested the vaccine significantly reduced deaths. Since the outbreak was declared on May 15, the DRC has recorded 3,973 confirmed cases and 1,801 deaths. Africa CDC Director General Dr. Jan Kasia said vaccinated people may still contract the Bundibugyo strain but generally develop only mild symptoms, adding that no deaths have been recorded among vaccinated patients. He also announced plans to expand the use of the antiviral drug Remdesivir in the DRC, citing its successful use in neighboring Uganda, where it helped contain imported Ebola cases and reduce the fatality rate. And with this last piece of news, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now for weekly programs with my colleagues, Masoud Sharfi, and another program on health. We'll leave you with that for now, and we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you and goodbye.
Hello and welcome to your weekly program Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Algeria International. As countries around the world work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change, much attention has been given to renewable energy, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen. But another technology is increasingly becoming part of the global conversation: carbon capture. Rather than replacing fossil fuels altogether, carbon capture aims to prevent carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gas responsible for global warming, from entering the atmosphere in the first place. Supporters see it as a way to reduce emissions from industries that are difficult to decarbonize, while critics argue that it should complement rather than replace the transition to cleaner energy. But how does carbon capture actually work? Can carbon dioxide really be stored safely underground? And what role is Algeria playing in this evolving field? In this episode, we explore the science behind carbon capture, its opportunities and challenges, and Algeria's experience and ongoing efforts in this important area of energy transition. To understand carbon capture, we first need to understand carbon dioxide, or CO2. Carbon dioxide is a natural part of Earth's atmosphere and plays an important role in supporting life. Plants absorb it during photosynthesis, while humans and animals release it through breathing. The problem arises when large amounts of carbon dioxide are produced by human activities, especially from burning coal, oil, and natural gas for electricity, transportation, and industry. These additional emissions trap heat in the atmosphere, contributing to global warming and climate change. Carbon capture is a technology designed to reduce these emissions. Instead of allowing carbon dioxide to escape through factory smokestacks or natural gas processing facilities, specialized systems capture the gas before it reaches the atmosphere. There are two terms often used in this field: carbon capture and storage, or CCS, refer to capturing carbon dioxide and storing it permanently underground. And there is carbon capture, utilization and storage, known as CCUS, goes one step further by allowing some of the captured carbon dioxide to be used in industrial processes before any remaining gas is safely stored. The process can be understood in three main steps: capture, transport, and storage. First, carbon dioxide is separated from other gases produced during industrial activities such as cement manufacturing, steel production, electricity generation, or natural gas processing. In the next step, the captured carbon dioxide is compressed into a dense fluid and transported, usually through pipelines, although ships or trucks can also be used in some cases. And finally, it is injected deep underground into carefully selected geological formations, often several kilometers below the Earth's surface. These rock formations have trapped oil, natural gas, and other substances for millions of years, making them suitable for long-term carbon storage. Not all captured carbon dioxide is stored immediately. In some cases, it can be used to produce synthetic fuels, certain chemicals, construction materials, or beverages. However, experts note that these applications use only a relatively small share of captured carbon dioxide compared with the volumes needed to significantly reduce global emissions. For many scientists, carbon capture is particularly important for industries where reducing emissions is especially difficult, including cement, steel, and chemical manufacturing. These sectors require high-temperature industrial processes that cannot always be powered by electricity alone. Although carbon capture has been studied for decades, its large-scale deployment still faces important challenges. One of the biggest obstacles is cost. Capturing, compressing, transporting, and storing carbon dioxide requires advanced technology and significant investment. As a result, carbon capture is currently more expensive than many other methods of reducing emissions. Another challenge is infrastructure. Carbon capture requires pipelines, storage facilities, monitoring systems, and suitable geological formations to safely contain carbon dioxide over the long term. Scientists also emphasize that carbon capture is not a substitute for reducing fossil fuel consumption. International organizations, including the United Nations and the International Energy Agency, generally view carbon capture as one tool among many, alongside renewable energy, energy efficiency, and cleaner technologies to help reduce emissions, particularly in industries where alternatives remain limited. Despite these challenges, governments and energy companies around the world are investing in new carbon capture projects, while researchers continue working to improve efficiency and lower costs. In this global context, Algeria has practical experience with carbon capture and continues to explore its role within broader decarbonization efforts. One of the country's most notable achievements was the carbon storage project in Insaleh, where carbon dioxide separated during natural gas production was injected into deep underground geological formations. The project, carried out between 2004 and 2011, is widely recognized as one of the world's early industrial-scale carbon storage initiatives and provided valuable scientific and operational experience. Today, Algeria continues to integrate decarbonization into its long-term energy strategy. Sonatrach has announced several initiatives aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving energy efficiency, lowering methane emissions, and studying carbon management technologies. In recent years, the company has also strengthened international cooperation through agreements with foreign partners. Among them is a memorandum of understanding signed with Germany's VNG AG to explore cooperation in areas including carbon management, methane emission reduction, green hydrogen, and other technologies supporting the energy transition. These initiatives reflect Algeria's ongoing efforts to strengthen technical expertise, expand international cooperation, and assess the potential role that carbon capture technologies could play in supporting lower carbon industrial development. Many experts believe carbon capture will not solve climate change on its own. Instead, it is increasingly viewed as one part of a broader strategy that includes renewable energy, hydrogen, energy efficiency, cleaner industrial processes, and innovation. The future of carbon capture will depend on technological progress, supportive policies, continued investment, and international cooperation. It will also depend on ensuring that captured carbon dioxide can be transported and stored safely while remaining economically viable. For Algeria, continued research, international partnerships, and experience gained from previous projects provide a foundation for evaluating how carbon capture technologies may contribute to future decarbonization efforts alongside the country's renewable energy ambitions. Carbon capture reminds us that tackling climate change is not about relying on a single solution. Instead, it requires a combination of technologies, innovation, and international cooperation. While renewable energy and green hydrogen are reshaping the future of power generation, carbon capture offers another approach, helping industries reduce emissions where cleaner alternatives are not yet fully available. Algeria's experience in carbon capture, together with its ongoing international cooperation and decarbonization initiatives, reflects its continued efforts to support lower carbon industrial development while contributing to broader climate objectives. Thank you for joining us as we explored the science behind carbon capture and Algeria's role in this evolving field of energy innovation. You have been listening to Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Algeria International. Stay tuned.
To a new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Today's program is devoted to flu, which could cause serious complications to some vulnerable people, such as the elderly and children, and also the people suffering from chronic diseases, and could even cause their death. Let's start by defining the flu. The flu is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses that infect the nose, throat, and sometimes the lungs. It can cause mild to severe illness and at times can lead to death. The best way to prevent the flu is by getting a flu vaccine each year. While seasonal influenza viruses can be detected year-round in some countries, flu viruses are most common during the fall and winter. The exact timing and duration of the flu seasons can vary, but influenza activity often begins to increase in October. Most of the time, flu activity peaks between December and February, although activity can last as late as May. What about the period of contagiousness? You may be able to pass on the flu to someone else before you know you are sick, as well as while you are sick. Although people with the flu are most contagious in the first 3 to 4 days after the illness begins, some otherwise healthy adults may be able to infect others 1 day before symptoms develop and up to 5 to 7 days after becoming sick. Some people, especially young children and people with weakened immune systems, might be able to infect others with flu viruses for an even longer time. Now, what are the signs and symptoms of flu? People who have the flu often feel some or all of these signs and symptoms that usually start suddenly and not gradually. Fever, cough, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, muscle or body aches, headaches, fatigue. Some people may have vomiting and diarrhea, though this is more common in young children than in adults. How does flu spread? Most experts believe that flu viruses spread mainly by tiny droplets made when people with flu cough, sneeze or talk. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. Less often, a person might also get flu by touching a surface or object that has flu virus on it, and then touching their own mouth, nose or possibly their eyes. What should one do to prevent flu? First, take time to get a flu vaccine. A yearly flu vaccine as the first and most important step in protecting against flu viruses. Vaccination of high-risk persons is especially important to decrease their risk of severe flu illness. Vaccination also is important for healthcare workers and other people who live with or care for high-risk people to keep from spreading flu to them. Children younger than 6 months are at high risk of serious flu illness but are too young to be vaccinated. People who care for infants should be vaccinated instead. Take every preventive actions to stop the spread of germs. Try to avoid close contact with sick people. While sick, limit contact with others as much as possible to keep from infecting them. If you are sick with flu-like illness, it's recommended that you stay home for at least 24 hours after your fever is gone, except to get medical care or for other necessities. Your fever should be gone for 24 hours without the use of fever-reducing medicine. Cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Throw the tissue in the trash after you use it. Wash your hands often with soap and water. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand rub. Avoid touching your eyes, nose and mouth. Germs spread this way. Clean and disinfect surfaces and objects that may be contaminated with germs like the flu. Take the flu antiviral drugs if your doctor prescribes them. If you get the flu, antiviral drugs can be used to treat your illness. Antiviral drugs are different from antibiotics. They are prescription medicines, pills, liquids, or an inhaled powder, and are not available over the counter. Antiviral drugs can make illness milder and shorten the time you are sick. They may also prevent serious flu complications. For people with high risk factors, treatment with antiviral drug can mean the difference between having a milder illness versus a very serious illness that could result in a hospital stay. Studies show that flu antiviral drugs work best for treatment when they are started within 2 days of getting sick, but starting them later can still be helpful, especially if the sick person has a high-risk health condition or is very sick from the flu. Follow your doctor's instructions for taking these drugs. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of our weekly program, The Health Magazine. To join us next week for a new edition devoted to another subject. And for the time being, I wish you a good time.
Sintonizan Radio Argelia Internacional. El diario hablado.
Señoras y señores, cordiales saludos a todos. El jefe de la diplomacia argelina, Ahmed Attaf, subraya desde Minsk la determinación de Argelia de seguir trabajando con la República de Bielorrusia para elevar las relaciones bilaterales al nivel de las aspiraciones de los líderes de ambos países. Partidos políticos de España y Portugal piden excluir a Marruecos de la Organización Conjunta del Mundial de 2030 por la crisis migratoria de Ceuta. Y mientras Europa evalúa las pérdidas económicas de los incendios forestales hacia lucha contra las llamas avivadas por la sequía extrema. Señoras y señores, les damos la bienvenida a nuestra edición de este viernes 7 de agosto. El ministro de Estado, ministro de Asuntos Exteriores de la Comunidad Nacional en el Extranjero y Asuntos Africanos, Ahmed Attaf, concluyó ayer su visita oficial a la República de Bielorrusia, marcada por una intensa agenda de encuentros destinados a consolidar la cooperación bilateral y dar seguimiento a los compromisos alcanzados entre los dirigentes de ambos países. Durante su estancia en Minsk, Attaf fue recibido por el presidente de Bielorrusia, Alexander Lukashenko, a quien transmitió los saludos y los mejores deseos del presidente de la República, Abdelmajid Tebboune, destacando los avances logrados en la aplicación de los compromisos bilaterales. Escuchemos al respecto al jefe de la diplomacia argelina, Ahmed Attaf.
Tuve el honor de ser recibido por su excelencia el presidente de la República de Bielorrusia y naturalmente le transmite los saludos y los mejores deseos del presidente de la República, Abdelmajid Tebboune. A su vez, él expresó sus mejores deseos de éxito al presidente Tebboune en el desempeño de sus funciones y deseó también al pueblo argelino mayor prosperidad y bienestar. Nuestras conversaciones se centraron en evaluar los resultados de la destacada visita de su excelencia el presidente Lukashenko a nuestro país Argelia y los logros alcanzados como consecuencia de dicha visita.
El ministro argelino sostuvo asimismo conversaciones con su homólogo bielorruso Maxim Ryzenkov, primero en un encuentro privado y posteriormente en una reunión ampliada con las delegaciones de ambos países. Las conversaciones permitieron evaluar el estado de las relaciones bilaterales y los avances registrados en la ejecución del plan de acción acordado por ambos países. Al término de sus conversaciones con el ministro bielorruso de Asuntos Exteriores, Ahmed Attaf subrayó la determinación de Argelia de seguir trabajando con Bielorrusia para materializar los acuerdos alcanzados y elevar las relaciones bilaterales al nivel de las aspiraciones de los dirigentes y de los intereses de ambos pueblos. Escuchen.
Hemos examinado el estado de la cooperación bilateral y confirmamos que está experimentando una evolución positiva que debe preservarse, fortalecerse y ampliarse. También subrayamos la importancia de pasar de la etapa de consultas e intercambio de perspectivas a la etapa de ejecución, seguimiento y evaluación con el fin de garantizar la implementación efectiva de lo acordado durante el encuentro entre el presidente Abdelmajid Tebboune y su excelencia el presidente Alexander Lukashenko, con ocasión de su visita a Argelia el pasado mes de diciembre. Asimismo, destacamos la necesidad de acelerar la celebración de la segunda sesión de la Comisión Mixta Argelino-Bielorrusa. Por último, insistimos en la importancia de una buena preparación para los próximos compromisos.
En este mismo contexto, el ministro argelino de Asuntos Exteriores señaló que intercambió con su homólogo bielorruso puntos de vista sobre las principales cuestiones regionales e internacionales de interés común, partiendo de la convicción compartida de que la complejidad de la actual coyuntura internacional exige reforzar el diálogo, intensificar las consultas y coordinar las posiciones. Escuchemos al canciller argelino Ahmed Attaf.
Partiendo de nuestra convicción común de que la complejidad de la actual coyuntura internacional exige reforzar el diálogo, intensificar las consultas y coordinar las posiciones, y teniendo en cuenta las perturbaciones que afectan al sistema de relaciones internacionales, tanto a nivel regional como mundial, reafirmamos la importancia del multilateralismo y la necesidad de respetar el derecho internacional, el papel de las Naciones Unidas y su Carta. Asimismo, destacamos la importancia de privilegiar las soluciones pacíficas a los conflictos por encima de cualquier otra opción, considerando al respecto el elevado costo que generan las guerras y sus efectos devastadores para toda la humanidad.
La visita incluyó además una reunión con la presidenta del Consejo de la República de la Asamblea Nacional de Bielorrusia, Natalia Kochanova. Ambas partes coincidieron en la importancia de acelerar la ejecución de los proyectos bilaterales pendientes y destacaron el papel de la cooperación parlamentaria como instrumento para fortalecer los vínculos entre ambos países. La presidenta de la Asamblea Popular Nacional, Khalida Boufdesh, recibió ayer al presidente del Parlamento Panafricano, Fath Boutbig, quien le realizó una visita de cortesía con motivo de su reciente elección al frente de la Cámara Baja del Parlamento argelino. El presidente del Parlamento Panafricano aprovechó la ocasión para destacar el importante lugar que ocupa Argelia en las instancias parlamentarias continentales y elogió el papel que desempeña el país en el fortalecimiento de la acción africana conjunta. Por su parte, la presidenta de la Asamblea Popular Nacional expresó su satisfacción por la visita y reafirmó el compromiso de Argelia con el fortalecimiento de su proyección africana, especialmente mediante el impulso de la cooperación parlamentaria continental con el fin de responder a las aspiraciones de los pueblos africanos en materia de desarrollo, integración y estabilidad. Siempre en Argelia, 6 personas murieron ayer en un accidente de tráfico registrado en la comuna de Shaima, en la provincia de Tiaret, al oeste del país, después de que un turismo colisionara con un camión. Es lo que informó la Dirección General de la Protección Civil. El accidente se suma a una serie de graves siniestros registrados en las carreteras argelinas durante las 2 últimas semanas. El más mortífero ocurrió, recordemos, el pasado 31 de julio en la provincia de Boumerdès, donde un autobús de pasajeros que cubría la ruta entre Esteif y Argel se salió de la vía y cayó por un barranco, causando al menos 27 muertos y decenas de heridos, una tragedia que llevó al presidente Abdelmajid Tebboune a decretar 3 días de luto nacional. Asimismo, el 6 de agosto, un autobús que transportaba trabajadores se salió de la carretera nacional 79 en la comuna de Mzied, en la provincia de Constantin, provocando la muerte de 6 personas y dejando entre 19 y 22 heridos, según los balances de la Protección Civil. Las investigaciones realizadas por las autoridades españolas en coordinación con la Policía Nacional de Ecuador revelaron la implicación de ciudadanos marroquíes en una red internacional dedicada al tráfico de cocaína con apoyo financiero de inversores radicados en los Emiratos Árabes Unidos. Según la Guardia Civil Española, la organización logró introducir más de 21 toneladas de cocaína en Europa mediante empresas de importación y exportación utilizadas como fachada para ocultar sus actividades ilícitas. Las autoridades españolas y ecuatorianas continúan las investigaciones para identificar a todos los miembros de esta red criminal transnacional y desmantelar sus ramificaciones dedicadas al tráfico de cocaína hacia Europa. Partidos políticos de España y Portugal han pedido excluir a Marruecos de la organización conjunta del Mundial de Fútbol 2030 tras la reciente crisis migratoria en la ciudad española de Ceuta. Los detalles a continuación con Sara Alel.
En España, el partido Vox presentó una iniciativa en el Parlamento para retirar a Marruecos de la organización del torneo, al considerar que la llegada masiva de migrantes plantea dudas sobre su capacidad para garantizar la seguridad de un evento que reunirá a millones de aficionados. Según las cifras más recientes del Ministerio del Interior español, unas 72.000 personas entraron de forma irregular en Ceuta en pocos días a finales de julio, un récord para ese enclave. Y por su parte, el líder de Podemos, Pablo Fernández, afirmó que España no debería organizar el Mundial con un país que no respeta los derechos humanos. En la misma línea, el diputado de Sumar, Nahuel González López, sostuvo que es imposible compartir la organización del torneo con un gobierno que, afirmó, utiliza la migración con fines geoestratégicos. En Portugal, el Partido Ecologista Libre también pidió al gobierno y a la Federación Portuguesa de Fútbol excluir a Marruecos de la organización del Mundial 2030 al considerar que no es un socio fiable tras la crisis migratoria de Ceuta.
Las fuerzas israelíes acompañadas por colonos irrumpieron este viernes en el sitio turístico de las piscinas de Salomón, al sur de Beit Lahem, donde los colonos realizaron rituales talmúdicos bajo protección militar, según la agencia palestina de noticias Wafa. En las últimas semanas, las autoridades israelíes han intensificado las restricciones en la zona, cerrando el acceso al lugar y expulsando a visitantes palestinos. En otra operación, tropas israelíes entraron en la localidad de Temun, al sur de Tubas, registraron una vivienda y se desplegaron en varios barrios sin que se reportaran detenciones ni heridos. Asimismo, las autoridades israelíes emitieron nuevas órdenes militares para arrancar árboles y confiscar terrenos en varias localidades de la gobernación de Jenin, una medida que afecta a cientos de dónums de tierras agrícolas y, según fuentes palestinas, perjudica directamente a los agricultores. Por otra parte, la Media Luna Roja palestina informó que 48 palestinos resultaron heridos durante la ofensiva israelí en los campamentos de Qalandia y Kafr Aqab, al norte del Quds ocupada. La organización denunció que las fuerzas israelíes obstaculizaron el acceso de sus equipos de emergencia a los heridos y enfermos. En un comunicado, el secretario general de la Liga Árabe Nabil Fahmy criticó el uso reiterado de la fuerza por parte de Israel y afirmó que las operaciones militares en Gaza y Cisjordania ocupada, así como los ataques contra el Líbano y Siria, aumentan la tensión regional. También reiteró llamado al fin de la ocupación de los territorios árabes y a la creación de un Estado palestino independiente con el Quds Este como capital. Y siempre en lo que a Palestina se refiere, UNICEF informó que al menos 300 niños han muerto en Gaza durante los 300 días transcurridos desde el anuncio del alto el fuego en octubre de 2025, un promedio de un menor fallecido cada día. El organismo señaló que cientos de niños más han resultado heridos y que las familias siguen viviendo en condiciones extremas marcadas por la desnutrición, la falta de agua potable, el deterioro del sistema sanitario y la acumulación de escombros. En Siria, al menos 2 personas murieron y otras 13 resultaron heridos o heridas ayer tras la explosión de una bomba colocada en un minibús de transporte público en la localidad de Yaramana, al sureste de Damasco. Según el Ministerio Sirio de Sanidad citado por la agencia oficial SANA, el artefacto explosivo fue detonado en el interior del vehículo. Y tratándose de la preocupante epidemia del ébola, el Centro Africano para el Control y la Prevención de Enfermedades anunció una campaña masiva de vacunación contra el ébola en las zonas afectadas de la República Democrática del Congo, pese a que el brote actual corresponda a una variante distinta de la cubierta por la vacuna, al considerar que ésta ha demostrado reducir significativamente la mortalidad. La epidemia continúa expandiéndose y afecta ya a 53 zonas sanitarias de 5 provincias, con nuevos focos en Ouele y Chopo. Desde su declaración el pasado 15 de mayo se han confirmado 4.053 casos con 1.850 fallecidos, una tasa de letalidad, mejor dicho, del 45,7%, mientras 694 pacientes permanecen hospitalizados o en aislamiento. En África, el África CDC anunció, por otra parte, la ampliación del uso del antiviral Remdesivir tras los resultados positivos obtenidos en Uganda. El director general del África CDC, Jean Kaseya, destacó que Uganda ha logrado contener la epidemia, pero advirtió que la situación sigue siendo crítica en la República Democrática del Congo. Escuchen su declaración.
Je vais commencer par les bonnes nouvelles.
Las buenas noticias llegan de Uganda, donde viajaré pronto a ese país, y ahí tengo previsto una reunión con el presidente Museveni para felicitarlo por los esfuerzos realizados por su país, ya que Uganda ha logrado contener esta epidemia de ébola. Es cierto que en la República Democrática del Congo la situación sigue siendo muy preocupante. Tenemos alrededor de 3.700 casos y 1.700 muertes, lo que representa una tasa de letalidad que de aproximadamente el 45%. Pero lo que resulta aún más preocupante es cada día se confirman en promedio 70 nuevos casos confirmados con alrededor de 35 fallecimientos diarios. Por eso, cuando declaramos esta epidemia el pasado 15 de mayo, ya advertimos que probablemente se convertiría en la epidemia más peligrosa que hemos enfrentado en África.
La plus dangereuse que nous avons en Afrique.
Siempre en el ámbito sanitario, las autoridades sanitarias francesas confirmaron un nuevo caso de hantavirus de los Andes detectado en un ciudadano franco-argentino que transitó por Francia el pasado mes de julio y que permanece actualmente aislado en España junto a su familia. Los incendios forestales se consolidan como una de las principales amenazas climáticas de este verano en distintas regiones del mundo, mientras Europa evalúa pérdidas económicas multimillonarias y refuerza su estrategia de prevención. En Asia, las llamas continúan avanzando, favorecidas por la sequía extrema. Los detalles con Yesin Mehupi.
Sí, Kaina, los incendios forestales continúan multiplicándose en distintos puntos del mundo, impulsados principalmente por las condiciones climáticas extremas que prevalecen en esta temporada estival. Al respecto, la Unión Europea instará a sus Estados miembros a incrementar las inversiones en la gestión ambiental y la prevención de incendios forestales después de que los fuegos registrados este verano en varios países europeos hayan provocado pérdidas económicas estimadas entre 15.600 y 19.100 millones de euros. La comisaria europea de Medio Ambiente, Jessica Roswell, advirtió ayer en una rueda de prensa que ninguna región de Europa está ya a salvo de riesgo de incendios y subrayó también que la prevención constituye la primera línea de defensa. Asimismo, Jessica Roswell anunció que Bruselas supervisará el uso de los fondos europeos para garantizar que se destinen a la prevención, la protección de los ecosistemas y la restauración de las zonas degradadas. Entre tanto, en Indonesia las autoridades continúan combatiendo un incendio forestal que ha arrasado más de 120 hectáreas del Parque Nacional del Monte Bromo. Señalar que el fuego alimentado por la intensa sequía obligó al cierre de uno de los principales destinos turísticos del país, mientras 2 helicópteros participan en las labores para contener las llamas en Indonesia.
En América Latina, ahora Perú y México anunciaron en un comunicado conjunto el restablecimiento de sus relaciones bilaterales rotas desde noviembre de 2025. Ambos gobiernos reafirmaron en el mismo comunicado su respeto al derecho internacional y a los principios de la Carta de las Naciones Unidas. En Argentina, miles de personas se manifestaron frente al Congreso en Buenos Aires contra un proyecto de ley sobre la propiedad privada de la tierra. La protesta derivó en enfrentamientos con la policía, que utilizó gases lacrimógenos, balas de goma y camiones hidrantes para dispersar a los manifestantes. Se reportaron heridos y detenidos en medio de un amplio operativo de seguridad. Y es con esta noticia que llegamos al fin de nuestro diario hablado. Gracias por habernos prestado atención. Les dejamos con su programa semanal dedicado a África hoy, en compañía de Merim Labri.
África Hoy, un programa de Radio Argelia Internacional que trata íntegramente de la actualidad del continente africano
y de sus distintas expresiones culturales. África Hoy, su portal de África en las ondas de Radio Argelia Internacional.
From the award-winning director and producer of Sarafina, Nairobi Performing Arts Studio brings you Ngugi wa Thiong'o and Ngugi wa Mirie's epic play, I Will Marry When I Want. I'll Marry When I Want comes to the Kenya National Theatre from the 12th to the 29th of May. Tickets available through M-Pesa, Kenya Bars and M-Tickets.
How long has it been since independence? And what do we have to show for it? Bienvenido a todos. El teatro de Nairobi en Kenia ha vuelto a brillar y a destacarse después del regreso a la escena cultural y teatral de la pieza más conocida del país tras 45 años de ausencia.
We are tired of slavery. We are tired of slavery. We are tired of charity and abuse. We are tired of charity. The whole of the poor has been blown. The whole of the poor has been blown. The whole of the poor has been blown.
La última representación de la pieza Ngahika Ndina, o literalmente Me casaré cuando quiera, I will marry when I want, remonta al año 1977, cuando sus protagonistas con su arte denunciaron la explotación de los kenianos por la élite política y económica del país, algo que infurió mucho a las autoridades de la época, que arrestaron y encarcelaron a su escritor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, el famosísimo escritor keniano o el patriarca de las letras africanas, de quien les hablaré esta tarde.
Memory is what makes us who we are. You know, memories of the past, for instance, is what makes us be able to evaluate the present as we plan for tomorrow.
Wa Thiong'o, firme defensor de las lenguas africanas, creador de novelas, relatos, ensayos, obras de teatro y cuentos infantiles, ha dedicado toda su obra a analizar la fuerza de la colonización, no tan solo como elemento de poder y represión, sino también como una forma de alineación en su forma de obligar a los pueblos colonizados a abandonar y despreciar su propio idioma. De ahí que en uno de sus ensayos fundamentales, Descolonizar la mente, el autor defiende la existencia de las lenguas minoritarias como una forma de resistencia frente a las dominantes.
Now, one of the most important memories is simply the memories of who we are, where we come from, you see our parents or the region in which I was born, the stories I was told, you know, the language I used, you know, as a child, the language of, say, my parents, the language of my community, and so on.
En 1977 tomó una decisión trascendental en su trabajo: escribir una obra de teatro en Kikuyu, su lengua materna. La pieza Me casaré cuando quiera provocó la indignación del gobierno keniano por sus críticas a la corrupción postcolonial. Las representaciones realizadas por actores no profesionales acabaron llevándole a una cárcel de alta seguridad sin cargos concretos como ciudadano indeseable. Y ahí, al igual que Nelson Mandela, estableció las bases de su ideario y escribió una de sus obras más significativas, la novela El diablo en la cruz. Tuvo que hacerlo en los ásperos rollos de papel de váter que le facilitaban en el centro penitenciario. En el libro exploró los rituales y símbolos de su cultura como una forma de recuperar y consolidar su identidad. Así, al salir de la cárcel, juró que jamás haría un trabajo creativo en inglés. El idioma en el que había sido educado fueron una sola cosa: enfrentamiento directo con el presidente Daniel Arap Moi, defensor de las etnias minoritarias frente a la mayoría Kikuyu, le llevó al exilio y a esa enorme contradicción que supone defender su cultura en países que habían actuado como colonizadores. Así fue profesor en Londres y más tarde enseñó literatura comparada en la Universidad de California. En el año 2004, tras la caída de Arap Moi, regresó regresó brevemente a su país. Una noche, 4 individuos atacaron al autor y a su esposa en su apartamento de Nairobi, violando a la mujer y quemándole a él la cara. Para muchos, aquella acción no fue en absoluto un delito común. El escritor de 84 años hoy día vive exiliado y con imposibilidad de moverse por una enfermedad que padece, pero es considerado una de las voces más destacadas de la literatura africana. Este escritor, nacido en 1938 en Camerito, en Kenia, es autor, como decía, de novelas, obras de teatro, cuentos y ensayos que van desde la crítica literaria y social hasta la literatura infantil.
Nagilage babala inaru marmayan oh ingungaine babala inari gila nagilage naru marmayan nagilage babala inaru oh ingungaine.
Ngugi wa Thiong'o fue galardonado con le Grand Prix de Mécène en la edición de 2018 de los grandes premios de las asociaciones literarias. En 2020 fue seleccionado para el Premio Nobel de Literatura. En marzo de 2021, su obra The Perfect Nine se convirtió en la primera obra escrita en una lengua indígena africana en ser incluida en la lista del International Booker Prize. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, eterno aspirante al premio Nobel, dijo muchas veces que quiere competir con genios como Miguel de Cervantes, y cuando le preguntaron por si aceptaría o no el Nobel si lo concedieran, él dijo que sí, ¿por qué no? Especialmente ahora que escribo en Kikuyu, una lengua africana. Lo aceptaría como un elogio, un gesto hacia las lenguas africanas.
Jemeli, mama.